What up, everyone? Back for another video. So I fixed the lighting and now I've invested in a microphone, so hopefully the sound's a little bit better, because before I was using just the built-in microphone and this room's too big to pick up my voice. So I'm using a microphone now, but honestly maybe picking it up too much. You may be hearing Wolf chewing right now. So it's going to take a little while for me to figure it out, figure out what the best spot for the microphone is, figure out the best quality for it, but hopefully you should be hearing me clear now, and hopefully Wolf's chewing isn't just ruining this video. Maybe I should put him down. What this video is going to be about really quickly is just basically how to build your own man cave, or woman cave, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what the female version of it is. Your own little space. People have asked me for years, what's the best way to display my collection with a limited amount of space? And this is it right here. Basically using up the walls, a vertical display. But that's kind of hard for people to figure out how to do. And I've just realized since this move, some really easy and cheap ways to make your own shelving and how to do that. So I was going to break it up into little bits of how to do each kind, but it's really not that complicated. And I think I can kind of speed through each thing, and I really shouldn't even need to give demonstration because it's actually very simple. Once you understand the idea behind it, you should be able to figure it out for yourself, no problem. So I'll go through each kind of different shelving I have in here and what you'll need and everything from there, and it should be pretty simple. So that being said, I should probably put Wolf down. I feel like the microphone's picking up his chewing. Here, Wolf, here. Let's put this down. Come on, get down. Get down, you little bubby. Oh, come on. There we go. Good boy. Good boy. Okay, ready? There you go. Okay, is that better? Again, I'll figure out the exacts for the microphone. It may sound a little funky right now. So let me start off with things you're probably going to want to invest in. Some important things you need to think about investing in. Keep in mind, you don't need any of these things. Oh, and I forgot. I have to do this disclaimer. I hate that I have to do this, but people left me with no choice. This video, by the way, I am not a professional. I am not a professional private contractor. I am not a professional in any way. This video is not meant to take jobs away from professionals out there, not to demean anyone that does that. If you want to support professionals, please spend the money. If you want professional jobs done, please spend the money. This is only meant as a cheap alternative, and I'll get into more details and specifics on that. I did a custom framing video way back when and got just reamed by professional custom framers of how I was stealing business from them and taking jobs. It's like, okay, like, take it easy. I'm just trying to help out. It's just a cheap alternative. So if you're like me, I care much more about what's on the shelf than the shelf itself. Like, the shelf itself, as long as it holds things up, that's important, and the expensive stuff's on the shelf. But if you care, like you're putting this in your main living room or something like that, and it needs to be aesthetically pleasing, then feel free to explore the other options. This is just a cheap alternative. That's my disclaimer. Don't hate on me. All right, so things that I would recommend investing in. 1, power drill. So this really isn't that expensive. I got a whole kit with a bunch of different drill bits. The only pieces you'll need is the standard Phillips, which they'll all come with, and then this kind. This looks like a little Twizzler right here. And I'll show you how unprofessional I am. I have no idea what this drill bit's even called, because I just have no clue. It's shit I've figured out on my own. But this type of drill bit, so as long as you get a kit with those two basic things, which they pretty much all have, you should be fine. And this will run you, the whole kit, $30 to $40. Like, I got this at Target. I think it was right in that $30 to $40 range, and it came with like 50 different drill bits, an additional battery, all kinds of stuff. Not that much, and you really will get a lot of use out of this. I can't imagine someone not having just common uses for a power drill. It's just a very common tool, definitely worth investing in. Once again, don't need it. You can absolutely do this with just a regular Phillips screwdriver handheld. You can. It'll take you a lot longer. You'll exert a lot more effort, but it's doable. If you're really worried about money, don't worry. These are just suggestions. So that's the first thing. The next thing is a jigsaw. Now this looks complicated and expensive. It's really not. Again, the whole kit for this, $30 at Target. It even comes in its own little carrying case. It's very simple to operate. Just plug it in and pull the trigger. It's got this little flat guide here so you can guide it against the wood. This is something that I've gotten a lot of use out of, because you can buy pre-cut wood, but A lot of the times, shelving, when you're doing, you may not be doing this volume, by the way, but when you're doing this volume, things need to be very specifically sized. So it just was a good investment for me to put some money into this and just have this to shape things as needed. And I'll explain why when we get to some of the sizing of the shelving. The other things, nothing to really invest in, but things you'll need are just some L brackets, is what I call them. I don't know if that's a professional name. I got some small metal ones and some big plastic ones, and then little kits with screws. Those are things you will need those to make your shelves. So invest in these tools. That's what you'll need. Now I'm just gonna go around the room. I'll show a quick panoramic view of just some close-ups on the shelving I have here. And we'll just kind of go through them one by one. I'll explain what they are. I'll explain what they came from, what you'll need to build it, what they're good for, so on and so forth. So by the end of this video, you're not going to be a professional and you're not going to be a genius private contractor, but you'll know enough to make your own personal cave or your personal how to display your collection. You'll know enough to do that. So starting off over here from my far right, or it may be your left, I don't know, the video's turned around, I'm confused. This whole wall over here, basically the smaller figures you see over here. For smaller figures, I didn't build my own shelving, I repurposed things. And that's probably the number one piece of advice I can give you, is always keep your eye peeled for things you can repurpose. Because things like this, the tiny things, they have shelving like this at Michael's and Aaron Brothers when it was in business, and they were called curio shelves. And basically a curio shelf is exactly that. It's for very small collectibles, but they're very expensive. So on the cheap end, you're talking like 20 to 30 bucks per little shelf square, and on the high end, like 70, 80, sometimes over $100 for one shelf, because they're specifically designed for that, and it's just not necessary. It's nice that it's all pre-cut and it's made to do that, but there's so many things you can use that are just as good for a fraction of the price. So most of these things you see over here are repurposed, I guess you call them silverware drawers. Basically, they're the things that you put silverware in and put in a drawer in your kitchen. And that's all it is. I took some of those and turned them vertically and put them on the wall. A lot of the other things are from the office department. You can go to Office Depot, and they're desk organizers. Things you put like paper clips or sticky notes. They are just a basic desk organizer, not the tall ones for pens, short ones for paper clips and things like that. That's another thing. The last thing is jewelry organizers. I have this little thing right here. You'd buy a jewelry organizer. It looks like this, and they have these little drawers. All I did was pop one of these drawers out, turn it on its side, and screw it into the wall. So that's where this little Twizzler drill bit comes into place. For the wood ones, and even for the plastic ones, you want to take a drill bit that's roughly about the size of the screw you're going to use. Now, the screws for this don't need to be very long. For the most part, you're most likely going to be drilling into drywall, and drywall isn't very thick. It's only at about an inch thick, roughly, give or take, so it's not much point to get a screw much longer than that because you're just drilling into nothing at that point. If you really want to be professional, you can get what's called a stud finder, and all that does is find the wood posts in the wall. So if it's something that's going to be really, really heavy, you might want to get a stud finder, find the wood studs, then you get a long screw because that'll give it a good hold. But for little stuff like this, you shouldn't have to drill more than just the drywall. And these small screws, which is I think 3/4 inches, should be more than enough. Do a basic drill hole with your Twizzler in there. I do 3 holes, top left, top right, and then bottom middle should give it more than enough hold to keep it from vibrating. Honestly, 2 holes would be plenty. I just do that third one just in case because I like things to be very secure. And then once you have the drill holes, sometimes I'll use command strips. You know those sticky strips that you put for posters, you pull them off. Sometimes I'll use those to hold the shelf in place, because if you're doing it by yourself, you can do a one-handed, like hold it there and drill it in. But sometimes, just to make it simple, I'll put command strips and stick it to the wall just to hold in place long enough for me to put some screws in. And that's all it is. You'll need a level. That's the other thing you should invest in. Levels will often come in a lot of these toolkits. So when you buy a drill, sometimes it'll come with a level. So that's perfect. You'll need a level if you want to be specific. Like I said, if you're doing a long row like the ones back here, you'll need a level because you'll want them to be all in line. You don't want them to taper off a little bit. And then past that, it's just measuring. It's just measuring from the ground up or from the ceiling up to make sure they're all in line. And that's pretty much it. That's all you need to know about those shelves. Like I said, the key point there is keeping an eye out for things that can be repurposed. No one gave me any advice on this. I just saw these silverware shelves and I'm like, you know, that looks like a curio shelf. And it's the same thing. These shelves, by the way, the wood ones, the nice ones, if I can point to it right here, those run about 10 to 12 bucks a piece. The plastic ones, those are the office ones, those run like anywhere from like 6 to 10 a piece. And some of the jewelry shelves were around that same range too. So it just depends what it's made of. I didn't care. I didn't need them to be made of wood. Those just happen to be the right size. They come at Target. They're at Target and they're still there. They've been there for years. I get those because I find the spacing of those is like pretty perfect for the size figures I usually have. They fit pint-sized heroes perfectly. They fit hero clicks perfectly. Most little figures, a lot of mystery minis fit in there just well. So it's good sizing. So it's just kind of up to you to know what size figures you have and keep that size in mind, and then just keep an eye out wherever you go. And it's good to go to estate sales, thrift shops, always go to places like Target and stuff like that and just see what the prices are and go from there. So, that's the basic idea of those. Next, we'll go to this back wall. These are all professional shelves. So before I was making my own shelving, I bought these kind of shelves from Target. These are very nice looking. So if you need them to be aesthetically pleasing, like I said, you have a family, it's going in your living room, something like that, then these are shelves you can buy and then hang yourself. But I do it in a little bit of a different manner. These ones can get pretty expensive though. I use Target as kind of my baseline for prices because it's not the cheapest out there, but it's the cheapest I'm usually willing to go without sacrificing quality. There are stores like Walmart and Big Lots and things like that that are definitely cheaper, but you do sacrifice quality. It's always kind of risky when you go places like that because you don't know how good the quality is going to be. You don't know if you buy a bunch of shelves, they're all going to be the exact size and things like that. It's just risky. So Target is the cheapest. I'll go without sacrificing quality. And shelves like these aren't even much cheaper at Walmart, but for a pack of like 4 or 5, it's like $35 to $40. Not crazy expensive, but you know, it gets a little bit pricey. And they have screw holes on the back of it. So basically you put the screws in the wall and then you hook the shelf on top of it. I don't like that though. It's very, very hard to do because the screws are almost the exact same size as the holes they go into, and you got to be very precise with the measuring, and it's just a lot of extra work. So I just said, you know what, fuck that. I'm not going to do that. It's so much extra work. So I bought these L brackets. You can get them from Lowe's or Home Depot. They usually come in a pack of 4, and they look like this in a little plastic package, and a lot of time they come with screws in them. So I bought some of these. A pack of 4 is like $3, something like that, and you really only need 2 even for the long shelves. And I put them at the top of the shelf, and you can even see right here, you can see the brackets right there over the shelf. I put them on the top of the shelf, 1 screw in the bottom, 1 screw in the wall. It has 2 screw holes if you want to be precise, but it just saves screws if you just do 1 and 1. I found that to be the best. I tried putting them on the bottom, but I found the shelves kind of tip a little bit. The screws kind of wiggle because the wood's not super dense. It's kind of cheap wood, so the screws wiggle a little bit. I found it was a lot better to put them at the top because that held them up higher and there's not as much wiggling there. And it just made it so much simpler. Like I could do that with one hand. Like I didn't have to measure exactly. I just put the brackets literally wherever and then just held it up against the wall. I could do it with one hand, the power drill, and boom, boom, done. It took a fraction of the time, and also the brackets they have on the back, you have to be so precise, and it's so difficult to do. And even when you get the screws as close to the wall as possible, it still wiggles a little bit. And for a shelf like that, if it's wiggling even a little, it declines. So if you put figures on there, they just roll right off. It's so hard to get them level. But with these strong brackets, super easy. Nothing's falling off these shelves. It's way better. So even if you buy these nice shelves, I'd still recommend spending the extra $2 or $3 to get these brackets. It's just way better, and it's also easy if you have to move them to take them off and put them somewhere else. It's easy to transport them. So highly recommend that. That's my advice for that. But again, do what works best for you. Moving over to the right side of the wall. Got all these over here, and these are mostly custom built shelves. This is where the jigsaw is going to come in hand. Now, it's up to you how intricate you want to get. Because I also, if you can see down here, I built this DVD shelf right here. You only see a fraction of it, but it runs along the entire wall. It is 20 feet long. And that was my personal choice because if you see back here, right here, sorry, it's hard to do this at this mirror image. Right here, these DVDs, this is in a Target shelf. It was like 20 bucks a piece, and they're like shoe rack closed shelves, and that's fine. But one, they're always so deep, and it's hard. You have too much space in the back. And for these ones over here, I had this cement curb, and I needed it to be exactly that height. And I looked everywhere. I couldn't find a shelf that was that exact size. So I decided to build my own. I basically bought wood planks that are already pre-measured. I didn't cut anything myself. Because the jigsaw, one thing you need to know, when you're cutting things, if you're not experienced, it's very hard to keep it straight. If you even taper a little bit and there's even a little wiggle, it won't line up flush with the wall. So I got pre-cut planks. I got wood planks that were like an inch deep but 6 inches wide, which is the exact width of a DVD. And then one on the back that was like, I think, 10 inches tall. Again, it's basically, it fits exactly the DVDs. If I push them back with my finger, they still line up and are flush with the front of it, which I think is perfect. And it's 20 feet long, so it goes along the whole wall. And that takes a little more practice and experience. But all I did was, instead of the planks, I had some straight brackets. So imagine not an L, just a straight bracket to hook the planks together to line them up. And then used L brackets to connect the back, the top, and then the back and the bottom. And that's the basic idea behind it. It was very simple to do. And, you know, it's not fancy. You can see it. It's not cool looking. And, again, I'll do the video close-up of it. It's not super fancy. It looks homemade. It's not crazy good. But it does its job. It holds those DVDs, and it's holding the figures on top perfectly. It does a very good job. I don't have to worry about the DVDs going up, out, and in too far. I don't have to worry about lining them up. They're all pushed to the back, and it just works very perfectly. So if you are feeling confident and want to do something like that, go for it. But back to what I was talking about with these figures over here. Same basic idea where I use the L brackets. Now I'm going to show you this one here, this plastic one. So the L bracket, you have to get it based on the size of shelf. If you're getting a little one, little L brackets. If you're getting a big one, big L brackets. You don't really want to go anything more than probably 2 inches longer than your bracket. So when I had some of these bigger figures over here, the ones that stick out, some of the like McFarlane stuff and these bigger pops and things like that, I got these. These are from IKEA, and you can see the drill holes are in the base there. These ones I'll put under the shelf, but just these ones. The metal ones I'll do on top. These ones work okay because they're solid. You can't bend them at all. So it's okay to go under it because your shelf's not going to bend this. These are slightly bendable. These at IKEA, they're less than $1 a piece. I want to say they were 75 cents. So they're very cheap. If you have an IKEA by you, it wouldn't be a bad idea just to pick a bunch of these up. They also have some pre-cut nice wood there. So these are supposed to go with these white planks of wood. And they're a shelf, and they're finished. So they're not just solid wood. They have like the plastic coating on them. So they actually look very nice. And those are $2.50 a piece. So if you want to make a run there and pick up just a shitload of those and use those, that's fine. That's a cheap option. Some assembly required, but nothing crazy. Literally, I would take the white plank of wood, take these L brackets, drill them into the plank first, and then once they're all together, like I said before, hold it with one hand, right hand, drill, level on top, done. No big deal. But if you want to get more specific, if you need more exact sizes, here's what I did. So when you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, they have these planks of wood. They call it, like, they have particle board, or they have, I can't think of the word for it right now. They just have different types of wood that are in big planks. It's like a 4 foot by 6 foot, and it's like an inch thick. And once you have that, you can just cut it with the jigsaw to any size you want. But like I said, keep in mind, if you're doing very, very long cuts, long shelves, you might be better off getting pre-cut wood because it's just very hard to keep this still, and if you wiggle even a tiny bit, you can't take that back and it might not sit flush against the wall. But for short shelves that are just deeper, no big deal. Get that particle board, and I even got some spray paint. One of the shelves in here, spray painted this black, spray painted the board black, and it looks pretty professional. I notice if I paint them black or something like that, you can't see the specific cuts. If I leave it the wood color, it's no big deal, but you can kind of notice that there's just some like gradation and I didn't exactly do a straight cut. And then past that, if you want to get very nice about it, get some sandpaper, or if you wanted to invest in a power sander, those are only like 20 bucks. They're very cheap, and those just get all the rough edges and stuff like that, make it a little smoother to go against the wall. But that's the basic idea behind it. It really doesn't get much fancier than that. And then a lot of these other shelves on here are just repurposed stuff. So keep your eye out. Whenever I go to Target or something like that, I have my stops. I stop in the collectible section, I stop in the shelving section, I stop in the framing section, because things pop up all the time. There are clearance sales, there are things on sale, and it might be worth it if there's a good clearance sale to buy these nice shelves, or even see something that's made of a good quality wood material that necessarily wasn't a shelf, but that you can reuse as a shelf, or even that just is made of wood that you can chop it up. The shelves I was talking about back here, they came with these Woof's peeing on camera. Thank you, Woof, for peeing on camera. They came with these inserts, these wood plank inserts that made different shelves. I took those. Here, I'll grab one right now. Sitting over here. Basically, they were just these separate pieces of wood that you assemble with that slide into the shelf that you would put your clothes on or whatever, and then I just use these as pieces of wood. I chop these up, slice them up real thin, and then make shelves out of them. And if you're doing thinner shelves, like I have my Dorbs on some very thin shelves, that I use pre-cut wood. They have at Lowe's just 2x4s or something like that. You can get an 8-foot long piece for like $2. It's super cheap, and then that's where the jigsaw comes in handy for those shortcuts. Use a 2x4 and just slice it up the exact length you need. Then back to the L brackets, $2 or $3, toss that in the wall. Super simple to do. If you want to get fancy, get some spray paint, paint it up, get it to match the walls, whatever you want. You can get as fancy as you want, or you can keep it as basic as you want. So just to get the rough idea, these fancy shelves were, on average, I'd say like $10 a piece, like with all things included. And the ones I did myself over here, roughly the same size. Quit it. Roughly the same size, only cost me like $3 or $4 a piece. So if you're only doing one, not a big deal. But if you're doing a lot, if you have a lot to display, then it's better to consider doing things yourself, because those little dollars here and there, they really add up after a while. Let me do a quick once over, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Yeah, I think that's the basic idea for it. If you want to know, these pictures I hung on the ceiling, I use these L brackets. They're a different type. I'll show you. So you have the depth 3D looking L bracket, and then you have a flat L bracket. And you can use a straight one too, that works fine. I basically put it on the back of the frame. Here's the frame, put it on the back, drill into the frame, and then flip it up the opposite direction and then drill into the ceiling. The only thing you would need to know about that is that when you're drilling into the ceiling, it's a good idea to go at an angle. Normally, when you're going into a wall, you want to go straight on because that's where the pressure is going down. Gravity is pulling it down. But when you're going up, a lot of ceilings are just drywall, so you need a lot of support. So if you were going straight in it, it's possible for vibration to get the screws to wiggle out and fall. But if you do it at a slight angle and then do the other end at the do it at a slight angle and then do the other end at the opposite angle, now you have support. Whereas they could fall out, but if you do them at opposing angles, now you have much more support there. So that's the only thing you need to know about that. Other than that, that's pretty much it. That's the basic idea behind everything here. And I'll show some basic pictures of what things look like, and you'll have a quick overview video of the garage. If you see anything in here that I didn't explain well, or you're curious about how I made it or put it up that you didn't understand, feel free to ask that. If it's, hi, you want to come up here? Come on. If there's more questions you have, I'm more than happy to do in-depth videos of more specifics. I'm totally cool with that. I just didn't think it was necessary. I didn't want to like over-explain everything and make this a crazy long video going in the depth about everything. I think just the basic idea is fine. Once you understand that it's possible, then go for it. It took me years to even think that I could do it myself. I was buying shelves for years. You guys saw my last house. It was all purchased shelves. But once I realized, like, you know, the tools aren't expensive, it's not that complicated, I'll just do it myself. Once I realized that, it just opened up a whole different world for me of what was possible, and now I'm building my own shelves, and it's really cool. It's a good feeling to know you've created something completely on your own. And this garage is, you know, the last owners, it looked nothing like this. So it's just a nice feeling to have everything in here. I own everything. I build everything. It's just cool. I like it. It's a good feeling. So again, if there's anything you'd like to see, if there's, even in the future, if there's things you want explained, if you want in-depth videos, please let me know in the comments. Also, let me know if it's helpful. And again, if you're out there and you have some tips, things I didn't mention, feel free to put that in the comments. Like, let's help each other out. You as the viewer can help another viewer out on something they might need. So let's get that going in the comments. And past that, I hope this helps. Oh, one thing to mention, nothing to do with shelving. Funko is having their virtual toy fair this week. So if anyone's interested in that, go check it out. And I may be making the next video that has something to do with that. But we'll talk about that on the next one. Other than that, I hope this was helpful. I hope this did give you some ideas. And that's all this is going to be about. The channel is about helping each other out and having a good time. So, thank you for watching. Say bye, Woof. Oh, thank you. Kisses. All right. See you guys on the next video, and we'll talk more about it then. Thanks for watching. Love you all. Peace.